After an engaging set of lectures in the morning, we are back with something truly unique, a topic that might sound straight out of a marine documentary, but has remarkable implications for the future of sustainable nutrition. Our next lecture titled Jellyfish as Food will be delivered by Dr. Antonio Rapso, whose sessions have already kept us thinking beyond the conventional boundaries of food and nutrition. So, without further ado, let's invite Dr. Antonio Rapso on the stage to enlighten us with his lecture. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. I hope you have enjoyed your lunch, and for sure, I think you didn't taste jellyfish, neither at your lunch, and perhaps neither in your life. So let's talk about this. I don't know. Perhaps I'm wrong. Any one of you have already tasted jellyfish as food? Yes or no? If anyone, your arm? No, no, nobody. So this is innovative also for you, as I'm seeing, and even for the Europeans, even for my country and the European market. We have jellyfish, but we have jellyfish on the beach, on the sea, and they are connected not to for the good reasons. They are a plague. They destroy the fishermen's nets. They can be harmful for people who go to the beach to swim. And what we studied was to explore this jellyfish and how can we utilize them as a food ingredient. And we looked for the background that this jellyfish has been used for a long, long time, especially in the Chinese, Japanese cuisine, even also as a delicacy. And if we have some of this jellyfish in our waters, I'm talking about the River Tagus and River Sado waters near the Portuguese coast. So why not to experiment and to see their beneficial properties and their sensorial properties to incorporate them in a normal diet. So it's a little bit of this what we will talking about in this session. Uh, So, while jellyfish agglomeration sometimes have negative effects on human activities, this is what I've been talking, such as damage to fishing gear and or fishery products, clogging of water intake systems, electric power plants, and injuries to waters. Some species have been beneficial to humans because they have been used as food, especially in Chinese cuisine, as you can see in this photo, of course mixed with other ingredients, mainly vegetables and a kind of sauce. It has significant economic relevance also to these populations. It has been seen as a high valued seafood product in China, not only today but for thousands of years. And jellyfish related businesses generate millions of dollars per year in Asia, in the Asian continent. Also in Japan, about 1,000 tons of jellyfish products are imported per year, which represents 25, around 25.5 million US dollars. The phylum Cnidarius, Kyphozoa class, is where jellyfish are classified. And we have around 200 species in this jellyfish, and only the mature Rhizostomi, are also known as medusas, are categorized into four orders: are assumed edible. So we can't go to the sea or to the beach, catch a jellyfish, a medusa, and eat it. We must have the knowledge to identify the proper species and then to process it, and only after all these steps it can be considered safe for human consumption. This is the main parts of a jellyfish, the umbrella and the oral arms and tentacles. As we will see later in this session, the umbrella is the most valuable part of the jellyfish, and this is the main part that is consumed by us, by humans. This is a jellyfish of the species Catostylus tagi that is present in the waters of River Tagus. River Tagus is near Lisbon. It is a river that crosses the city of Lisbon and also goes to Spain. And we can find, especially in the warm seasons of the year, where the temperature of the water is getting higher, we have more and more of these jellyfish. So, regarding its processing, jellyfish are a high-value marine resource, often served as a salad in certain Asian cultures, and proper cooking of this food is a skill, as jellyfish tissue dehydrates and shrinks rapidly at temperatures above 50 Celsius degrees. For preservation and transport, jellyfish are generally processed 3 times with solutions of mixtures of sodium bicarbonate, salt, and alum in different proportions. It is extremely important to note that this component, alum, is not recommended for human consumption. So many procedures are confidential with specific treatments varying from place to place, and processed jellyfish must be desalted before cooking. It is extremely important to note that this compound alum is not recommended for human consumption. In coastal areas, of course, fresh jellyfish are often eaten directly as a salad with seasoning and dressings without prior salt and alum treatment. And this is a very important, good thing. The not the not needed to addition any of these compounds, especially the alum. Given their unique flavor, tenderness, and crunchy texture, jellyfish are considered a valuable addition to various dishes in China and may also be welcomed in Western countries. At least that is our goal. Jellyfish are composed mainly of water and protein. It is about 97-98% of water in their composition. So this is one of the reasons it is very difficult, very hard to find the most adequate cooking process to consume the jellyfish, and therefore, of course, jellyfish is low in calories, with only small amounts of sugar and free of fat and cholesterol. As such, jellyfish are typical natural and healthy food. Furthermore, jellyfish are attributed with important medicinal values and appear in ancient and modern Chinese medicinal books as traditional Chinese medicine. Of course, some of these medicinal values need to be further studied nowadays with of course the such large number of different species there are, and the research on this field, especially in the European continent, is not so advanced. It is believed that eating jellyfish can effectively cure arthritis, hypertension, back pain, ulcers, tracheitis, asthma, burns, and other diseases, as well as relieve fatigue and bring out the beauty in human. This is related of their high content in collagen, and jellyfish can also have significant medicinal potential for the reconstruction of muscle, cartilage, and bone. All of these properties are described in the literature. This is an important paper published some time ago by this researcher Peggy Zia, that focused his entire career in studying the properties of jellyfish and the use of jellyfish in the cuisine in the Asian cuisine. So, but since then, a lot of other studies, special in Asian countries, special I think in China and Japan, Thailand. They have important research in jellyfish and in jellyfish as food. But in Europe waters, we also have edible jellyfish. So why not consider them to be also used as a food ingredient? If they are a plague, if they make destruction on the fisher materials of the fishermen, if they can be harmful for the bathers. So we have a resource that is a plague. Why not to make some profit with it and take some advantage also from the healthy point of view, and also from the sensorial and organoleptic point of view. The iodine content is another positive aspect identified in some jellyfish species, and among these various benefits associated with the frequent ingestion of jellyfish, it is made a mention that their high content iodine compared to brown algae. And as you know, these brown algae, the pheophytes, also known as pheophytes, are the marine resources with the highest content in iodine. However, some researchers have also identified similar content or even a higher content iodine in jellyfish. So, we developed an innovative process for the potential use of edible jellyfish as food products throughout the year, because this is seasonal. They are considered a plague. They are in a very high amounts in the waters, but only in some specific seasons of the year. In the warm seasons, when the waters are getting warmer. So, if we want to consume jellyfish from January to December, we first should think in a in a process to keep it preserved along the year. And what we think was to develop this process without the needing of include adding any compound during the process, especially those ones that are considered harmful to our health, especially aluminum, but also salt. So this process mainly consisted in freezing the jellyfish, of course, after being catch from their natural environment, and when you want to use them to consume, and must be defrosted, and then the cooking process. And now I will talk a little bit of this project, of this study, where we study the safety properties, but also the chemical composition and the sensory attributes of jellyfish. In this image, in this figure, you can identify the jellyfish as food already after being frozen and defrosted and cooked. You can see it in the letter A in the first image. The umbrella product. This is already the edible part, because not all the parts of the medusa, of the jellyfish, are edible. Only the umbrella and perhaps the oral arms, but with much less economic value. The mainly part used in the cuisine is the umbrella, that is represented here in the figure in the A. And then we prepared a pate to serve as a snack, ready to eat snack to the people. And here we have the results, because first we apply the survey, a questionnaire to the consumers to see if they are available to taste the jellyfish, because this can be very interesting. But if people even don't want to taste, so it is not needed to study the chemical, the safety properties. First, you have to know if people are honest to taste jellyfish. And of course, we have found that people were not interested. But incredible, the most of the people revealed that was able to be interested. About more than 60% were interested in taste jellyfish, and in which form want to taste jellyfish. And the answers were as pate in sandwich, or in cookies, or as a salad. So based on these answers, we prepared the pate. We also asked the people why you are interested, or why not. In the case of the answer was negative. The reasons to answer the positively was curiosity and the interest for new experiences. Among the people answered not, I'm not interested. The reason was I have repugnance, identify them as food, because this is not traditional for the Portuguese cuisine. People are not accustomed to see jellyfish as food. And here are the sensory profile of the umbrella product, and you see that the salty flavor was the most strong characteristic related to the ingestion of this jellyfish food product. If I can describe how is the taste, is a very strong flavor to see, similar to oysters. I don't know if you have already tasted oysters, or some clams, some shellfish, but it has a very salty flavor, and very related to sea. So you don't need a large amount of jellyfish to feel that taste. It has a very strong taste, and normally people will like it, or not. So it is difficult to have a medium term, to be neutral position. Or you like it, or you don't like it. And we already make a sensory acceptance of this product between allergical individuals. And this, of course, was prepared in collaboration with the hospital, and in a clinical environmental, to see, of course, if there is any positive response to the compounds of jellyfish. Everything was assured, but no positively, no allergic reaction was identified, and the allergical individuals also positively evaluated the jellyfish product. So this study confirmed that the intake of jellyfish is safe even for allergical individuals, and its organoleptical properties were accepted by the study population. The general utilization of jellyfish can contribute, of course, to the blue economy due to its nutritional and health benefits, and jellyfish can help to sustain our growing population if adequately supported by the right policies. It can also promote waste reduction and the biodiversity of marine resources by employing local underutilized resources, at least to this end. As it is a novel product, especially in the European continent, it is imperative to guarantee that any food products developed from jellyfish are of good quality and accepted by consumers. And of course, they must follow all the food legislation. And about that, and about the recommendation of use jellyfish as food, was not only an idea that came from the sky. Since 2013, the Food and Agricultural Organization recommended the utilization of some other protein sources to be included in the human consumption, and they gave the example of jellyfish and the insects. Perhaps in some region of the world it is normal the consumption, especially of insects, and other regions the consumption of jellyfish, but not in the European perspective, not in the European countries. So it is very strange for us to see the inclusion of these ingredients, new ingredients, you can call new ingredients, to our day-to-day diet. Is like to introduce something that you never know that could be used as food. From this moment, you start to include it in your cuisine and to add it to some traditional dishes you have. It's more or less similar to seaweeds. I don't know how is the consumption of seaweeds here in India. I know that, for example, in Japan, in China, are very consumed, much more than this, because this jellyfish, even in Japan, in China, is considered a very high value dish. It's not cheap. It is only consumed in special meals in special restaurants. But seaweeds, no, seaweeds are more consumed often and on the daily routine. However, in Portugal, in Europe, the consumption of seaweed since some years ago, it was not very common. So until we start to research, to investigate their beneficial attributes, the sensorial properties, and now a lot of places we can find dishes in restaurants that serve dead seaweeds as an ingredient. I have also a project in collaboration there in Portugal to see the benefits of the introduction some specific seaweeds in recipes from the traditional Portuguese cuisine, with the main goal in this case was to reduce the content of salt, because some of these products, as we saw with the results of sensory analysis, they give the perception of a salty flavor. But we do not need to add salt to the product. So at the end, the extra salt that at least we in Europe use to do with other foods, to fish, to meat. In this case, and it occurs the same with some seaweeds, we don't need to add extra salt. This is very important. So the idea of that project is to include seaweeds and to mitigate the need, or to exclude even the need to put extra salt in the condimentation of that dish. And this is kind of a hot topic that we have there in Portugal at this moment, because our fight is one of our biggest fights as in the food sector, as nutritionists, is to diminish, to mitigate, to decrease the quantity of salt that people are ingesting. So any suggestion, any idea, any measure that we can find viable to make that possible, it is very welcome. So issues regarding the safety. It should be foremost, and the most appropriate processing and most sustainable technique will be very important considerations for the future. To make them more sustainable, and as jellyfish are aquatic resources, it is important to strike balance between the impact of mass production of jellyfish and other aquatic fish resources and valorization along the jellyfish value chain from production to consumption. Of course, we have to take take in consideration that jellyfish are seasonal beings, living beings. So, of course, if we start to consume a lot of jellyfish, the overfishing, but at this time that is not a problem. They are even a plague. So, but of course, this must be controlled, monitored. To we start from a point that we have a plague, and perhaps in a question of years, it will be an endangered species. That is not our goal, of course. But if we control all of this, uh, it is an opportunity to make use of natural resource we have at our disposal, and it can be an aggregate value to the economy, and of course for the industry as well, for the health benefits, and for the population that find a new and hopefully tasty product. So let me know your experience if you have, or if you have not, if you would like to have the experience of taste something like this. Have you already, if you don't experience the taste, you would like to, or have you already read something about it, about the composition, about the taste? Let me know your questions. I believe there are a lot.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, as an Indian, it's quite difficult for me to accept jellyfish. So, are there any alternatives present which taste exact same like or similar to it, or any vegetarian alternatives of jellyfish with same nutritional value?
Let's see. I believe that it's a very. That's not only your problem. That's the one problem of most of people when have their first contact with this idea, with the idea of incorporating good jellyfish as food. But the first thing here we have to see, it's not the main focus here is not the nutritional properties, and because the total amount of jellyfish you need to produce, for example, you start from 1 kilogram umbrella, and then after cooking you have around 100 grams of product. That is also one of the reasons it is so expensive in some locations. And this is an address. This is not the main of the dish. This is an address to include in a salad, in to provide some kind of flavor. This is an opportunity to use a marine resource that is not used at all, that provokes damage in different ways to the humans, and you have the economic value added to use it, and then to make something different, something special with the local products, because the quantity, the amount you will intake of this, the nutritional properties from that point of view are not the main question here. I can say that the main benefit of this is the salty taste, that you will not need to add salt to your food. But of course, from your point of view, that you are accustomed already not to include the salt because you add spices and other things, perhaps that this doesn't make so many sense. That, for example, for me or for the Europeans, but here the main focus is not the health benefits. Other thing is, for example, for the cosmetic industry, and regarding the high content of collagen, they can use this to produce some kind of products that has that benefits. Or if we think as a food supplement, that could be an interesting idea, but it should be studied. It should be studied on that way, perhaps. But of course, the cost effectiveness should also be studied. The quantity we have need of processed jellyfish to incorporate in that supplement to make the desired effect. This is a good question. I have no answer. I didn't study that, but perhaps.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon. If jellyfish is sustainable.
Sustainable protein source as compared to fish and meat.
Yes, but it is the same answer I gave to your colleague. The quantity of jellyfish you eat is too little. You will not eat jellyfish for the protein. You can compare or substitute the meat or fish by jellyfish. Impossible to compare. Jellyfish will give you a special flavor, and it will be added in very small quantities to your dish. And the meat, the fish, it will be the main element of your dish, and you will consume much more quantity of meat and fish than jellyfish. So jellyfish, perhaps in one dish, you'll have 5 grams, 10 grams. You for sure will not eat 5 grams of fish or meat. So here the nutritional question is not the main focus. Here the sustainability is to use a resource that has no benefits at all. It's the same. It's the same answer, I guess, to your colleague.
So we eat jellyfish for a salad, for a just a taste, not for nutrition value.
Yes, we can say that.
Okay.
We can say
Thank
that.
you, sir.
We can say that. If we explore their benefit, for example, the iodine content, and work on the elaboration on a food supplement, that can be interesting. But we need to study. But as food and after cook, we can recommend that people eat jellyfish because it is a good source of protein, and you can substitute the meat or the fish and eat jellyfish. The price, the same, not only the price, the flavor is so intense. You can't eat, for example, 100 grams of jellyfish, and to have 100 grams, perhaps you should have 3 animals, and that would be very expensive because these processing techniques are expensive. And I didn't say, but this processing that we developed when we are talking about freezing to maintain all all their properties at the first moment, they must be freeze at temperatures less 80 degrees, and you need to have that kind of equipment, and that is very expensive. So it is not the end product, the final product. It is not cheap. It is expensive. So, and we can't compare it with fish, with meat, because it's not. That's not the goal. That's not the goal. I understand your question, and that is the most of the question when we talk, when we speak of this the first time is that question: is it affordable to substitute fish, meat with jellyfish? No, that's not the goal.
Hello, sir.
Hello, good afternoon.
Um, as my point of view, I'm
Yes.
totally agree with her that jellyfish is not considered as a traditional Indian cuisine. So, and people have lot of lack of acceptance about this as food. So, my question is, uh, now suppose you are in India and you are leading a campaign to aware people about the acceptance about the acceptance as jellyfish as food. So what will be your first step to
The
in case
first
of this?
the first step is simply asking your willingness to try jellyfish. I can make that question to all of you. If now I go outside and enter again with a jellyfish dish, which one of you would be able to taste it? Just to taste it. One, two, three, four. Don't be shy. 4 people. Five, 6, 7. The same. I think I've already counted you. So it depends on the population, and there are another kind of study that it is related with this that we make is to evaluate how neophobic are the population. You know what is a neophobic population? More neophobic, less neophobic. Neophobic. This means people that has fear, phobia, a fear of taste new foods, and this is a kind of personality. But it's important when you are developing new foods and to arrive at a different country, different culture, different place where this is not normal. I can see how can you eat there. You can, for example, for us in Portugal, it is not normal to eat insects. Or, however, if you go to Central America, to Mexico, or to China, it is perfectly normal. Or even in Africa, it is perfectly normal. And a lot of years, but in Portugal now, and the insects in Portugal are related to dirt. So it is very difficult, even worse than jellyfish, because jellyfish we associated as a marine resource from fish. And there in Portugal, we eat a lot of fish. We have coast from north to south. So it is not supposed to be so strange to try jellyfish as food. Insects is totally different. Our relation, our mind relate insects to dirt, to something impossible to eat insects. It's very much difficult. But the first step, of course, is to see the willingness of the population even to try it. Because if you don't want to try, how is my work in the lab catching the jellyfish, for the simple reason that you tell me that dish has 1 gram of jellyfish, I don't want to taste it. This happens. This can happen. So all the work you can make behind the scenes, it is not working. So that is the first thing to see how willing are the population even to taste, and then if they want to taste, we can work on the basis of that. And of course, then we can work to include, for example, jellyfish in a traditional dish you have here in India. And the collaboration with chefs, with people that have that knowledge. You have that collaboration with chefs, with the school of tourism and restoration in Portugal, to work with them to make these preparations, because I don't have that knowledge. I can study it in the lab, but the other thing is to make the recipe, and from the organoleptic point of view, make it tasty for the people that will eat. Next step will be, I think, will be exactly that, to make the incorporation of the jellyfish in a traditional dish you have in India, and of course the connection would, should be good. We should make some tests, some experiments, and see. But the first thing is in I don't know, 60 people, only 7 wants to taste. Better than 5, better than 3, of course. But if you are working with a very neophobic population, the, the inclusion of new foods, the development and new foods, it's more difficult, because the nutritional properties, the healthy properties, they come in the second level. If you want to eat it.
So true, sir. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon.
Sir, what are the specific components in the jellyfish that make it beneficial for the individuals with the arthritis and hypertension?
uh, Interesting. They some colleagues have studied the effects also of the toxin. This is other research field, but we talk about the cardiovascular disease, and this is very important because pharmacists of my university studied the effects of the toxin and compared with captopril. I don't know, it is a medicine specific to hypertension, and found very interesting results. But that is nothing related with the consumption, okay? That is from the pharmacological essays. With the consumption of jellyfish, I can tell you can have that benefits because the quantity, the amount you will eat, it will not be enough to say you have this benefit or the other. As food supplement, perhaps yes, but we must study. It is a wrong idea that I say no. You can eat jellyfish because this is very benefit, very helpful, very beneficial to your health. The most benefit I have already mentioned is to reduce the quantity of salt because yes, if we study the profile, nutrition profile, we can find interesting values, especially in zinc, in iodine. But the quantity of jellyfish you will incorporate, you will eat, it's very little. It's not like a portion of meat, a fish. And of course, if we can design a food supplement, but the cost effectiveness of that, we must study. I don't know. But as food, it is complicated to talk about health benefits or advantage from the point of view of health, the consumption of the jellyfish. Almost have no calories, of course, but the quantity you will eat, you can compare to it a piece of meat or fish, jellyfish. You will not lunch 5 grams, 10 grams of jellyfish. Jellyfish is incorporated and perhaps eating joined with especially fish. Meat from the point of view of organoleptical properties, I think it's not very interesting. But you can join it with fish, with shellfish. But the contribution of the jellyfish, it's almost insignificant compared with the other ingredients. And you will not eat solely the jellyfish. Jellyfish, only jellyfish. That it's not the idea.
Okay, so thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, in your slide, you mentioned that alum is being used in processing of jellyfish, but sometimes alum is not recommended for human
It's
consumption.
not at all.
So, if there is any alternative exist,
That was the reason because we developed a processing technique. We developed a patent to process the jellyfish without the adding of alum. But if we find in the literature and especially in China, most of that process to make the shelf time longer, they use salt and alum. This combination to have the processed jellyfish. But that was one of the main reasons we developed the processing of jellyfish in Portugal without that compound.
if there is any alternative,
Yes, if you freeze the jellyfish, first of all, you catch the jellyfish from the sea, from the river. You must take it to the lab because you must remove some parts that are not edible. Not all the jellyfish is edible. This is important. Only the oral arms and the umbrella. Let me, the image, it's easier to, where I have the photo. Only the umbrella and the oral arms are edible, and the umbrella much more valuable and with better taste, better composition. So in this project, we only use the umbrella. All the other parts removed in the lab. We need to wash to remove very well the other parts. And then what we do? If we will cook at the moment, perfect. We will cook and serve. But that is not the normal way. You want to preserve for some period. And what you do is to put it in the freeze. But the temperature of that freeze must be, that was mentioned, minus less 80 degrees. And the equipment to maintain this at these temperatures is very specific and expensive. But if you put the umbrella, the jellyfish, at conventional temperature of freeze, that is minus 20 degrees, 18 degrees, when you will defrost, you will have nothing. So the tissues, the properties of the jellyfish will be damaged. So must be at minus 80 degrees. And then you must make the defrosting and the cooking process as one. Okay? With, let me see another image to help you to visualize this. With some utensil like this, because when you are defrosting and cook, this is at the same time, the water is not in contact with the jellyfish. Otherwise, you will have only liquid, and that is not the goal. And if you defrost from minus 80 degrees, if you make the defrost and the cooking process as one, then you can utilize it as you want, as a salad, and for every preparation you want. And with this, we didn't utilize any preservative compound, any chemical preservative, neither alum, neither salt. We didn't add salt to jellyfish. And if you look for in the literature a lot of preservation techniques and process, they add alum or other chemical components or even salt, and that is not that is not so healthy as you can imagine.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So, firstly, I would like to ask you, how was your experience when you first encountered or tasted the jellyfish? Like,
Sincerely, I appreciate it because I like very much the taste of sea, the strong taste of salty of the sea. I like clams, I like oysters, I like generally I like all the sea food products. And jellyfish has a very strong salty flavor, sea flavor. The difference between perhaps in oysters and jellyfish is that jellyfish, the texture is more similar to, I don't know if you know, squid, as a squid, but very much more intense flavor to the sea. So it was not a problem. I enjoyed it, of course. But the quantity must be little. You don't need too much jellyfish to feel that flavor, because if you have too much jellyfish, the flavor will be very strong. It's similar to the spices, okay? If you have small, it is fine, but of course, if you add more and more and more, the flavor will be strong.
okay, so aside from the traditional East Asian cuisine, like you said that they use in China, they eat jellyfish in salad. In Korea, as I'm quite familiar with East Asian cuisine, as I have curiosity regarding that. So in Korea, they eat cold jellyfish salad, and in Japan, they eat jellyfish in sushi and sashimi.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I would like to know if there's any your favorite European recipe apart from this, so we could know what how European people, or especially in Portugal, people consume jellyfish as, or your favorite like jellyfish snack.
Well, I didn't have tried a lot of preparations. I ate it also as salad. It is fine, and this mix of pate, it is also interesting. But if you ask me how I prefer, I think as a salad and mixed with other sea elements, not only the jellyfish and the vegetables. For example, prawns. For example, clams. For example, mussels with other elements from the scene. I think it's a good, but of course that will depends on the. I don't think that, for example, the mix or the joining jellyfish with meat products, it's strange, but who knows? But I don't think it's like you mix oysters with chicken. It's strange.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
In your research paper, you have mentioned that jellyfish can have a direct negative impact on farm fish stock through venom injection. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, because they are also harmful for the fish nets of the fishers and the small fishes. They catch the small fishes. So we are regarding sustainability. We are contributing also to make the fishermen free of these harmful beings that for them they have no value and only only negative effects. So that is the reason we say and we consider jellyfish, at least in Portugal, as a plague, because they don't have no use and only negative effects. So that's the reason why I say that.
Thank you, sir.
So, what is the iodine content of this compared to the Japanese nori seaweed?
What is that?
What? How does this iodine content of this compare with the Japanese
I
seaweed?
found in a patent from a Chinese or Japanese author that told. That's why I include this in this slideshow. He told that it was more than 10 times higher than in fields in the brown algae. And then I write him to ask how did he measure it, how did he find, but I didn't have no answer and no more data on that. That is the problem. There are no much data on that, and I did measure the iodine contact the content on my jellyfish, because I'd like to make it with the CPMS, and it took so much time. And we have two institutes in Portugal to make that, and the equipments sometimes are not working. Sometimes a lot of people make analysis them, so we didn't measure the real iodine content of jellyfish for ECPMS. That I think it's the most feasible method to see.
So, regarding the salty taste, that is also from sodium chloride, which is because it's from the sea.
Is from the sea, exactly. It is not related with the salt content. Okay.
So, it is basically the salt.
We call salt because it's similar, but it's different from the salt that is becoming from the salt you are. Okay. I don't know if you have in mind the taste of oysters or some mussels or some, but oysters I think it's the most similar because it has a very strong flavor. When I see salty flavor from the sea, is that it's quite different. For example, you add salt to the fish or to the meat or whatever.
So, like in India, probably the similar example will be these small dried prawns, which are partly
Yes,
crusty and
and
partly.
dried jellyfish is also common, especially the Chinese. One of the techniques they use to extend the shelf life is to dry it and salt, of course, and to add salt. But in this process, we intend to avoid that.
So, one more thing, you had shown the sensory profile, which you have collected from those so many participants. But how did you actually ask them to give results on cohesiveness, adhesiveness? How did you?
No. That was a trained panel specialized in marine resources. That was in collaboration in a research center dedicated only to research in marine resources, and to make that this sensory profile. Where is it? Uh, the other time. Let's see. Here. This was made in 2 sessions in IPMA. This is the research center dedicated to marine resources in Lisbon. And who make this sensory evaluation were trained panelists specialized in marine products. Of course, if this is not an acceptance test, okay? This is not a liking if you like more or no. This is this is made from trained panelists that, of course, have the capacity to evaluate this
Right.
parameters.
Right. So one last question that uh, is there any risk of heavy metal toxicity like we see for other marine food resource in this?
Regarding safety, it follows the same thing as the fish products.
Right. And congratulations for your patent.
Thank you very much.
Sir, I have a question. You mentioned that this contains only water and protein as a major content. So I would like to know if the protein content has high digestibility and bioavailability compared to the conventional seafood protein.
Yes, but we didn't study very well that bioavailabilities. It would be interesting, but when we see the quantity of jellyfish, that is the same issue. We will include in the food preparation. We we didn't waste time in study that. perhaps that would be a second step, and perhaps, and for sure, that would be interesting from the point of view of the development of a food supplement. Because as a food ingredient, I don't see very interest on study that, because the quantity of the jellyfish we will eat is very, very, very small. So, and I think that the most interesting, and by comparing with other studies with other jellyfishes, for sure it's different species, but from the same class, the iodine content should be the most interesting to evaluate and to see if this is really true. This high content of iodine, it would be interesting. But other components should be present there and should be paid attention, and the development of a food supplement perhaps could be interesting. But as a food ingredient, it's difficult to talk about that.
I have another question.
Yes.
You mentioned that it has high collagen content in it. So I would like to know if it holds potential for developing collagen supplement or some cosmetic formulation.
Yes, but that is another field of research. Yes, yes, it has properties. There are researchers with other jellyfishes around the world that use this for the cosmetic industry, and I have already told to my pharmacy colleagues to study it there, because I have no interest on that. That's not my research specialty. That's not my research field. But I believe it can bring interesting results. Yes, yes, but I didn't study that.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you so much, sir, for that truly fascinating presentation. I think most of us never imagined jellyfish could make their way from the ocean straight into the plate, and in such a nutritionally valuable and sustainable way. It was really interesting to learn how jellyfish, despite often being seen as harmful to fisheries, actually hold huge economic and nutritional potential, being rich in protein, collagen, and even iodine. And I'm sure that the part about their role in the blue bioeconomy and sustainability gave us all something to reflect on. Thank you once again, sir, for having such an eye opening perspective on alternative marine food sources and the future possibilities in this field. And now, before we continue with our next session, let's take a short tea break. We'll be resuming shortly with our next session, so please be back on time. Thank you.